Hi, George. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
My family and I share your love and passion for travel, so it's been a lot of fun just watching these little episodes. We're super fond of your Nashville experience. We are going to Nashville for the first time this summer,
Okay.
so kids are like hot chicken. They're very excited to try that.
You got to do it. You're there. Are you a spicy food person?
I definitely am. Yeah, my husband and I both like spicy. I don't know. I keep hearing though, like hot chicken's another level of spice. So,
That was my experience. Prince, where I went, is apparently known to be especially spicy. Um,
okay, good to know. Good to know.
just FYI there.
Okay. Well, I'd love for you to just share with me. This is such a brilliant concept. As a family of five of us, I have three kids. Obviously, traveling on a budget is a huge deal. We spend so much time planning and researching. So I'd just love to know, what was your inspiration to start this adventure project, and how do you go about doing it, planning where to go and staying under budget?
Well, the inspiration I think came from my personal life. Just I've always loved to travel and haven't always necessarily had the bankroll for it, or certainly not the bankroll to do some of the fancier things in a city. The Michelin star restaurants, things like that. Those are well out of my price range, and so I just kind of decided to get creative and try to find stuff that was undervalued, I guess you could say. And
Yeah.
the process I use, I'm a big proponent of putting in research beforehand. I think there's really no substitute for it. If you don't do it, I've fallen into this trap myself. You wind up at kind of touristy spots, places
Yep.
that charge $23 for a cheeseburger. You know, that that's not it. But if you don't do the research, you won't know the kind of hidden gems, the places where you can get an affordable experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And my husband is always like, so for example, we decided we were going to Nashville, booked our family trip this December. So I have two teenagers, and both of them already have like Pinterest boards of like, okay, hot places to go to, non-tourist places. And they're always showing me, okay, mom, we got to go to this place, this place. I'm like, how do you guys find this stuff? But the research, that plays a big part into making the trip a good experience.
It absolutely does. And that's not to say that, part of the fun of travel is having those unplanned experiences.
Sure.
So,
Mhm.
I'm not opposed to that either. But I do think you need to put some time in beforehand.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great tip. So I've seen you, kind of have these categories about, food, art, people, all that kind of stuff. I'd love to hear what you think is a good, whether it be budget savvy or just practical. What would you recommend for souvenir type things? My kids are big on souvenirs. They always want one when we travel somewhere.
Ooh, okay. Has to be physical souvenirs.
Well, they would prefer physical. They always want something they can take home with them.
Okay, well, that's not. You can get a souvenir for probably pretty cheap, right? I'm not a huge souvenir
Yeah.
guy. I usually, my souvenirs usually are they're a byproduct of the places that I
Yeah.
went, or the things that I did. For example, in Nashville, I still have the cowboy hat that I got there. That's my souvenir from Nashville. In my Milwaukee episode, I don't know if you saw that one. I got the where they make those Green Bay Packers.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got that. I still have that. That's kind of functions as my souvenir, but they're byproducts of something cool that I did within that city.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my kids are, my oldest one, her biggest thing was, Mom, I want to get some cowboy boots. I'm like, go look at how much those are. And she was blown away. So when we watched that episode, I'm like, see, it's a real thing. They're crazy expensive there.
It blew me away. I thought maybe they would be a little bit out of my price range, but they were all hundreds of dollars. It was absurd.
Yeah, that definitely was a shock to us too, for sure. So I'd love to know, I've seen some of your episodes and the cool places you've visited. I'd like to know, do you have a favorite place you visited, or maybe a couple places on your bucket list?
In this season that we did, probably my favorite My favorite city, I mean, I grew up in the New York area, so I'm biased towards New York, but I think Chicago is probably my favorite city.
Okay, cool.
I've been there before, but I just love it. I always can't wait to go back.
That's great.
But as far as specific locations I went to, I've already brought it up, but the Cheesehead Factory, where
Yeah,
the Packers foam heads. I'm not even a Packers fan, but just the factory, they get a tour, you get to make your own cheese head there. It was really up my alley.
that's awesome. Yeah, something unique and fun to do that you can't just, do anywhere, which is cool.
Yeah, and it was, a cool business, just, a small kind of family-owned business. It's always fun when you go to places that have good stories behind them. This
Yeah,
a guy who, when he was 22 or something, made it out of a couch cushion. He made the first foam cheesehead, and he went to a game, and people were like, "Where did you get that? I want one." And he started making them, and now here we are 30 years later, and it's his business. And
and
it's
it's
just
a must-have item if you go to a game there, I'm sure, right?
yeah.
That's so cool. So what about your bucket list places, whether it be in the US, or do you have ever adventures or ideas to adventure outside the US on a budget?
I mean, I want to go to New Zealand. That's kind of a bucket
That would
list.
be wonderful. Yeah.
Um, I also actually really want to go to India.
Oh, wow.
Which I have a good friend of mine has a lot of family there, so I might have some connections there, which would be very, very beneficial.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, I have some ideas. Hoping to get out of the country again once
Yeah, one day, right? When it's back to normal.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really cool to see just, we think like we're kind of trapped here, being in the US, and we can't really go far off wandering. But your episodes have really inspired my family. They're like, Mom, we could go to all these East Coast locations. We got to start planning more trips. Like, we're just driving to Nashville. I'm based out of Washington, D.C. So it's a 9.5 hour drive, but that's doable for the family. Get in the car. We're doing the Airbnb thing there. So it's a lot of fun to just find these cool places that, feel like an escape, even though they might not be as far.
And
So I'd love to know, what's it like for you when you go to one of these places and you're doing this whole experience on a day? Are you driving or flying in there and you're just doing this day trip? Do you plan it for about a week in advance? What's the whole timeline of your experience, start to finish?
well, because we're making a show.
Yep.
Our logistical considerations with that the
Sure.
ordinary traveler doesn't have to deal with. We need to get permission wherever we shoot. So it's all done in advance, as much as we possibly can, done in advance. And so we kind of schedule times and kind of work with these places of when I'm going to go up and how long I'll be there, stuff like that. We do some stuff on the fly. We'll just go to a place and just kind of talk to them, say, "Hey, can we do this thing?" And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. But we're the planning in advance. It's a few weeks in advance before we go there. Then we fly in, and we have usually about 2 full days to shoot.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
The episodes, but yeah, everything you see in an episode, I think, can be done in a day.
Yeah, it seems very attainable. That's what I figured.
Yeah,
I thought, my family could definitely do that in a day in Nashville.
Yeah, for sure. But because we're shooting a show, there are other issues at play, so we need a little bit more time.
So how do you keep it fresh and exciting? And does it ever feel like you're doing the same thing over and over at each trip, or is it just so exciting for you to be able to experience these very unique things?
It doesn't get old for me. I
Great.
try to choose different things in different cities and try to mix it up. I don't want to repeat myself. That's just a creative decision for the show.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I try to really, like, it goes back to the research. I try to dig deep past the first page or 2 of Google results.
Yeah.
And find, different stuff. I mean, one of my favorite things to hear, and I'm thankful I hear it a good amount, is people who live in a city or have lived in a city for 10, 20 years, they watch an episode and they say, I've never heard of any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, that means I hit my mark. That's a very good thing to hear.
Great. Yeah, that's a great point to measure success of just going, off the touristy things. So,
Yeah.
So did you travel a lot when you were a kid or younger? How did this travel bug come about in you?
Somewhat when I was a kid, not ever internationally. Didn't go international until probably about college. And it was probably, I always kind of wanted to, and I never really pulled the trigger on it until it was probably almost my late 20s that I really went after it. And since then I hit like about 30 plus countries.
Amazing.
Yeah, and just really prioritized it in my life.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, my kids were like, Mom, these are so awesome. Like, why are they so short? Like, my kids were like demanding longer episodes. So I think my son just went and binged everything that was available from you because he was just really bitten by that travel bug. So, and of course, he showed me the Nashville one. He's like, we gotta watch this. So they probably watched that episode at least 5 times, writing down places they want to go to and the hot chicken place. And
oh yeah, I got over 100 videos on my personal YouTube channel too. Not all
yes,
related, but
that's great. So if you weren't traveling the US, what would you be doing? How would you be spending your time?
well, that's kind of what's been happening the past year.
Yeah.
I've been keeping busy. I continue to make content, non-travel content here in LA. And yeah, I'm doing my best to keep busy. I mean, the quarantine and the pandemic has made it hard on everyone, but
Sure. Yeah.
I've been doing my best and in a much better place than a lot of people are. So thankful for that.
Yeah. It's great just to be this is another reason why these videos are just nice to have, because even though we're not physically traveling or going many places, it's just nice to kind of be like, oh, look what's out here, and you kind of provide that escape, I feel like, for a lot of people, giving them this inside look at all these different cities and locations, which is really wonderful.
Yeah, I hope so. That's one of the goals for sure.
Yeah. So how do you go about packing? Do you say, if you're going on a plane, are you always only doing carry-on since you're doing such limited things on a budget? Is it worth it to be taking multiple suitcases places when you're trying to stay under budget? What would be your advice for that?
I mean, personally, I'm a carry-on only. I've been.
Our family is too. I'm always like, one bag per person. That's it.
One bag. I have one roller bag that is, I got it years ago. It's the perfect size for the overhead. And I think just the time waiting at baggage claim, that's my least favorite time spent.
I hear you.
And I mean, even if they didn't charge, I mean, obviously they charge you a lot of times for checked bags. And so there's the monetary benefit there, but the time benefit of just not having to wait at baggage claim, which always drives me nuts because I just want to get out of the airport.
Right. You could be halfway to your location at that point.
Right. It's just, it drives me nuts. And so long ago I decided if that means I have to pack less, then I pack less. And I've been to laundromats on the road. It's not the worst thing in the world.
Yep. We've been to the hotel laundromat area.
Yeah, I've done my laundry in hotels many times. And fine.
That's good to hear. We're a carry-on only family too, so that's good to hear. Yeah. So you shared that your favorite city to visit was Chicago. What would be your favorite meal that you've had on one of your adventures?
I would say probably would be, because it's one of the most unique things is the in the New York City episode, a place called Enoteca Maria. I don't know if you saw that one.
No, I haven't yet.
You see that one? They have a concept there called Nanas of the World. And basically every day of the week, a different grandmother of a different nationality works the kitchen. And so,
oh my God, so cool.
One day it'll be a Puerto Rican Nana. One day it'll be an Indian Nana, Italian, Greek, so on. And the day I was there was a Peruvian woman named Rosa, and I had Peruvian spare ribs and the food was wonderful, but I also just loved the experience of it, the roulette aspect of it, kind of
Yeah.
not quite sure what you're gonna get. I mean, I think that's a lot of fun, and so I would certainly say that.
Okay, I'll definitely have to go back and watch that. I'm sure my son has already.
Yeah, and well, it goes back to my point of like digging deep into research. Like if you look at great restaurants in New York City, you might get Peter Luger's Steakhouse in Brooklyn,
Right. Mm-hmm.
famous place, but I don't think I'm getting out of there for under $100.
Right. Yeah.
But if Enoteca Maria, which is in Staten Island, but it's a quick ride on the ferries right near the ferry stop, and that's you have to dig deeper. But I found it. It was cheaper, and I think more unique than.
Yeah, really.
It's a really unique concept and a lot of fun, but it's not necessarily on that first page of Google results.
Yeah, that's such great advice. Just going past those first couple of pages and digging a little deeper.
Digging deeper, yeah.
Do you ever have on-site, almost like local consultants that you kind of talk with or try and get in contact with to find more of that? Or are you solely just doing web-based research?
It's mostly web-based research. Once we arrive, we do try to talk to people as much as we can.
Yeah.
Talk to cab drivers or some of our contacts
Mm-hmm.
at some of these places, and they can give us recommendations. In the Houston episode, our contact at the Space Center Houston is the one who recommended Irma's Mexican restaurant to us.
That's awesome.
It's like, hey, he's like, oh, have you heard of Irma's? We're like, no. And he's like, oh, and he told us about it. He's like,
gotta go there.
Irma, she has a different menu every day based on what she wants to cook. We're like, that's amazing. And so we just showed up and we asked them if we could shoot there, and they said yes. And so most of it's done beforehand, but we try to ask around when we're there as well.
Yeah, that's really great. And you never know what people are gonna just share with you and find a great local spot or something that's gonna become, one of your favorite all-time meals, which is cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me. I really have enjoyed watching your episodes. You've really inspired my family to just explore more. Definitely here on the East Coast. We'll be trying to replicate some of your Nashville locations. We're going with my nephews too, and they're all wanting to do the Spartan foam thing. Okay. That's like a must now on their list. So that'll be fun.
They were friendly people there. Yeah, we'll have a good time.
Yeah, so thanks so much. I'll definitely be following along, and I can't wait to see what 2021, 22 takes you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good rest of your week.
You as well. Bye.